Have you ever wondered how much your last flight contributed to global warming? As it turns out, aviation is a considerable contributor to the environmental challenges we face today. Let's delve into the specifics. When we talk about aviation's environmental impact, we're primarily discussing three key areas: emissions, noise pollution, and sustainability. Let's start with emissions. Aviation is accountable for roughly 2 to 3% of global carbon dioxide emissions. That might not sound like a lot, but when you consider that global aviation consumes over 5 million barrels of oil each day, it becomes clear that we're dealing with a significant issue. But it's not just about the carbon dioxide. The process of burning jet fuel also releases a cocktail of other pollutants into the atmosphere, many of which are harmful to human health. This means that the environmental impact of aviation isn't just a problem for the planet, it's a problem for us too. Moving on to noise pollution, airports, particularly those near urban areas, are significant sources of noise pollution. This not only disturbs local wildlife, but also has health implications for humans living nearby. Finally, there's the matter of sustainability. The aviation industry has made some bold commitments in recent years, pledging to achieve carbon-neutral growth from 2020 onwards, and a 50% reduction in emissions by 2050. These are ambitious goals, and reaching them will largely depend on the industry's ability to innovate and overcome technical barriers. To give you an idea of the scale of these challenges, consider this. In 2019, commercial airlines carried over 4.5 billion passengers on scheduled flights. That's a lot of flights, and with each one, we're pumping more pollutants into the atmosphere. As we can see, aviation has a significant environmental footprint. But let's delve deeper into these issues in our next scenes. Stay tuned as we explore some revealing case studies and discuss how the industry is working to address these challenges. Let's take a closer look at a case study that investigated the role of aviation emissions in global warming. The study conducted a comprehensive analysis of global air traffic and emissions, focusing on key metrics to understand the impact of aviation on our environment. First, the study collected data on global air traffic, examining the growth rate of flights across different continents. It's no secret that air travel has been on the rise for decades, and this study sought to quantify that growth and understand its environmental implications. Further, the research also looked at the total global CO2 emissions of different airlines, considering both direct and indirect emissions. Direct emissions are those produced by the aircraft during flight, while indirect emissions include those related to the production and transportation of aviation fuel. The study also examined air traffic in various UK airports, shining a light on the geographical distribution of emissions. This is crucial because the impact of emissions can vary based on factors such as local climate and population density. Lastly, the study looked at fuel-efficient aircraft, seeking to understand the potential for reducing emissions through technological advancement. Now, let's talk about some of the study's key findings. In 2019, commercial airlines carried over 4.5 billion passengers on scheduled flights. That's a staggering number, and it underscores the scale of aviation's environmental footprint. But it's not just about the sheer volume of flights. The study found that even with the most fuel-efficient aircraft, emissions remain a significant problem. This is due to the high energy density of aviation fuel and the sheer amount of it that's required for long-haul flights. In closing, it's clear that with the growth of air travel, the emission problem becomes more pressing. We must continue to innovate and seek out solutions that can help us balance the benefits of air travel with the urgent need to mitigate its environmental impact. Emissions aren't the only environmental challenge faced by aviation. Noise pollution is another serious issue. The roar of jet engines might be music to the ears of aviation enthusiasts, but for the communities living near airports, especially those in urban areas, it's a source of constant disturbance. This noise pollution doesn't just disrupt the peace, it also impacts wildlife habitats, altering the behaviors of many species, and even leading to population declines in extreme cases. But the aviation industry isn't blind to these issues. it has set ambitious sustainability goals in an effort to reduce its environmental footprint. From 2020 onwards, the industry has committed to carbon-neutral growth. By mid-century, it aims to halve its carbon emissions compared to 2005 levels. These targets are lofty indeed, but they reflect the industry's recognition of its role in combating climate change. However, reaching these sustainability goals is no easy feat. It largely hinges on the evolution of innovation in the field. We're talking about breakthroughs in aircraft design, propulsion technologies, and alternative fuels. We're talking about more efficient air traffic management and operational procedures. We're talking about bold, transformative steps that can revolutionize the way we fly. And let's not forget the role of sustainable aviation fuels, or SAFs. These are alternatives to conventional jet fuels, made from sustainable resources like waste oils, agricultural residues, or even captured carbon dioxide. While SAFs currently account for less than 0.1% of total aviation fuel consumption, the hope is that their use will dramatically increase in the coming years, helping the industry meet its environmental commitments. In conclusion, the path to sustainable aviation is a challenging one, filled with numerous obstacles. Yet, with continued innovation and a commitment to change, the industry can minimize its environmental impact and chart a course towards a more sustainable future. Meeting these sustainability goals will require significant advances in technology and innovation. To understand the industry's efforts towards sustainability, let's consider a case study on emission efficiency. This investigation focused on two different models of aircraft within the Airbus A320 family, a staple in the commercial aviation Brazilian fleet. Now, the Airbus A320 family is a series of short to medium-range, narrow-body commercial passenger twin-engine jet airliners. These aircraft have been part of our skies since the 1980s and have seen many improvements over the years. This particular study aimed to estimate the emission efficiency of these two models. To do this, the researchers compared the average annual greenhouse gas emissions of the older model to that of the newer model. The main difference between these two models was the generation of engines they were equipped with, the newer model boasting a more recent and energy-efficient engine. As we've discussed before, the aviation industry contributes significantly to global CO2 emissions. Therefore, improvements in the efficiency of aircraft engines can potentially lead to substantial reductions in these emissions. The results from this case study were promising. The researchers found that the more recent generation of engines led to a reduction of 28% in the average annual greenhouse gas emissions. This is a significant decrease and suggests that advances in engine technology can indeed lead to substantial reductions in the aviation industry's carbon footprint. Now, it's important to remember that this is just one case study and one type of aircraft. However, it offers a glimpse into the potential for emission reductions within the aviation industry. If similar efficiency improvements can be achieved across a wider range of aircraft, the cumulative effect on global emissions could be quite significant. This case study illustrates how improvements in technology can lead to significant reductions in emissions. It provides hope that with continued innovation and commitment, the aviation industry can indeed meet its sustainability goals. So, what's being done to address these environmental challenges? Well, it's no small task, but the aviation industry is not shying away from it. They're actively seeking solutions to reduce their environmental impact. One of the most promising approaches involves the development of alternative low-carbon fuels, known as sustainable aviation fuels, or SAFs for short. SAFs are designed to be drop-in replacements for conventional jet fuels, meaning they can be used in existing aircraft engines and fuel distribution infrastructure without modification. This makes them an attractive option for reducing carbon emissions from aviation. They are produced from sustainable sources like non-food crops, agricultural residues, waste oils, and even municipal waste. This not only helps reduce CO2 emissions, but also helps to manage waste more effectively. However, the adoption of SAFs is not without its challenges. In 2018, SAFs accounted for less than 1/10 of 1% of aviation fuel consumption. This is due in part to their higher cost compared to conventional jet fuel and the lack of infrastructure to produce and distribute them at scale. But there is hope. Increasingly, airlines, manufacturers, and fuel suppliers are investing in the development and production of SAFs. Governments around the world are also stepping in, providing incentives to stimulate the production and use of these fuels. The hope is that over time, we can ramp up the use of SAFs to a significant proportion of all aviation fuel consumed. It's an ambitious goal, but one that's necessary if we're to meet the aviation industry's commitment to carbon-neutral growth from 2020 onwards and a 50% reduction in emissions by 2050. It's a journey that will require innovation, collaboration, and determination. But with each flight powered by sustainable aviation fuels, we take a step closer towards a more sustainable future for aviation. While the challenges are significant, the aviation industry is actively seeking solutions to reduce its environmental impact.